Hello, loves. It's Nina with Passion Squared. Welcome back to the podcast. Oh my God, do we have a special, special guest for you all today? It is such an honor. It's such an honor to welcome this guest, which I know many of you likely already know. David Thurston is the owner of Butterfly Loft Salon in Los Angeles and the founder and CEO of Danger Jones, a global hair color film and fashion brand, along with his awesome wife and Danger Jones founder, Alexis Thurston. David and Alexis both have been longtime supporters of myself and Passion Squared, and I just cannot wait to share David's brilliance with you. David, welcome to the podcast.
There is no place I'd rather be. This has been sitting on my calendar, and every time I keep thinking, when's it coming? When's it coming? It's glowing on my calendar. Any chance I get to spend with you is just pure gold. So thank you
Oh,
for this opportunity.
oh my gosh, thank you. And I have a million questions. So let's kind of begin at the beginning, which I love to do with our guests. What inspired you to even get into the salon industry?
Yeah, so I've always had an interest in hair. And in my teenage years, I applied to so many different hair salons to work as a receptionist, and nobody would hire me. And then I went through college and got a corporate job, but hair was always so important to me. In fact, you'll get a laugh out of this. At my wedding, my brother actually did a PowerPoint presentation for all the guests on all the different hairstyles I've had over the years,
That's awesome.
which was really funny. There was dozens of different hairstyles, so it's always kind of been a part of my identity. But I'm up in San Francisco working this corporate gig when one day I get a call from an old family friend asking me, "Do you want to start a hair product company together?" And it was so far out of my comfort zone, and I had something secure going on that I actually said no to the opportunity. It seemed like way too big. I couldn't
Sure.
imagine doing something like that. So a few days pass, and I get a package in the mail, and this guy sends me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which
Mm.
I'd recommend to anybody. And on it, he had a post-it note that said, "Would you rather climb the corporate ladder or would you rather own the ladder?" And I was intrigued by that. So I went out on my patio with a cup of coffee and I opened the book. And the first page that I opened to was like in somewhere in 30s, 35 pages in. It was advice from somebody to somebody else that said, "You'll die an old man," something to this effect. "You'll know that you never took the chance,
Mm.
that your fear of losing is greater than your excitement for winning." And when I read that, I thought that's exactly what's going on. My fear of losing is greater than my excitement for winning. And I ended up calling him, packing my bags, and moving down to Los Angeles and deciding to start my venture in the beauty industry. And when I did, one of my colleagues said, "Good luck on you're going down to LA to become a hair product tycoon." And he used the word tycoon kind of in a mocking way,
Mm.
like he didn't think I was going to be successful at it, or maybe he hoped I wouldn't be as successful at
Mm.
it. But I know what was going on. His fear of losing was greater than his excitement for winning, and he didn't like me going after it. But that's how I got into the beauty industry. And I remember going to my first hair show, and people like looked up at people who were on stage or who were running brands. And I that was 25 years ago. Like if you had told me I'd be one of those people one day, I don't know. It's almost like how'd that happen? It's crazy.
Right. It was meant to be. You and Alexis together really created what I saw as a significant major movement in our industry in 20, believe it was 2016, right? Which is
2015, actually.
2015. Jeez.
Yeah.
Which also happens to be when I met, when we all met, and it was called Butterfly Circus.
Yeah.
What drew you to even consider or thinking of creating this it's event's not even the right word, What inspired you to even create Butterfly Circus, and what did you learn from that experience?
Great questions. So you'll have to take you back to the days of the wild, wild west when it comes to Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
And nobody knew how to use it. The brands were kind of sleeping on it. There was a few key people who were kind of killing it and becoming household names in our industry. And I looked at things and I thought, well, I own this salon, Butterfly Loft, and I was trying to figure out ways to make our stylists more successful. And I was trying to come up with a reason why they would work for me and not at the salon down the street. And I thought, well, if I create a really successful Instagram page and on it, I could promote them and I could be, and then people will follow through from my page over to their page and now they'll have bigger clientele. Well, then they're going to stick around. That was kind of my mentality. But a funny thing happens, and this is really a theme of my life. When you're trying to make other people more successful, I become more successful. And all of a sudden, we had this Instagram page for Butterfly Loft Salon that was like 200,000 followers. So I'm not one to shy away from the spotlight. And I saw the power we were having. And I thought, I'm going to start putting myself, my picture, my thoughts into this Butterfly Loft Salon account. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was creating trends, I was inspiring, and I was educating. And those things used to only be reserved for the massive hair product companies.
Mm.
And now me with a phone is reaching people in other countries. How weird is that? But things really got interesting when a new stylist came over to my salon to work. And her name is Larissa Love.
Mm.
And I saw her following. And I saw that she was killing it. She could absolutely be inspiring trends. The vivid hair color craze that took off, she's very responsible for making that a thing. And she was putting her personality in the page. And I thought for a moment, and I thought, well, I've got my circle that is my circle of influence. She has her circle of influence. I was looking at a few other key people across the country that had their own circle of influence. And I thought, what if we connect our circles together? And you were one of these people that had your own circle too. So the first person I called for this education event, and that's how I was going to connect the circles, is, well, we'll just do an education event and all these people who are now big on social media will all come together. So the first person I called was you. And I said, are you interested in it? And the second you were on board, well, guess what? You were friends with Larissa and you also had a lot of influence over her. She respected you. So I called her and I said, do you want to do it? Nina's doing it. And so she said, I'm in. So then I called Jenny Strebe down in Arizona, Confessions of a Hairstylist. I say, if I called her and just said, do you want to do it? She probably would have said no. But I said, I've got Nina, I've got Larissa. Do you want to do it? Oh, well, I'll do it. And it just steamrolled into this thing where, and by the way, there's lessons that can be learned here for any of your listeners. It's
Yes.
that connect your circle with other people. People talk about networking and they're thinking about how can I benefit from somebody else, not how can we all get together and create something that has more value together. And that's what I think people need to think of if they want to rise up through this industry. Don't do it on your own. How can you do it together? But then how do you create an amazing dinner party? You get a few big fish on the hook and then everybody wants to be there. The same thing happened with Butterfly Circus. So it was a huge success. We crisscrossed the country doing sold out shows. If you remember the very first show we ever did, it was $24,000 we made that night. $24,000. And instead, I had the idea, I did all the logistics of it all. I could have kept most of it and paid out a commission to everybody, but I gave every educator an equal slice of pie that was equal to mine. And when the first show sold out, Nina, I don't know if you remember this, but I picked up my phone and I texted all of you and said, congratulations, the show sold out. Do you want to put another show on sale? And I got texts back from you all within a minute. And we put it on sale that night for the next night. And boom, $24,000 more for the night too. Here's the lesson. This is what I learned. All that happened so fast A big company could have never done it that fast. They would have had a task force that would have had a steering committee that would have tried to decide what to do after they sold out night one. I just picked up my phones and we moved fast. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two, all of that happened. $48,000 earned in 2 nights without the beauty industry, the big brands, even knowing it happened. It happened under the radar. And the biggest lesson of all, a few people with a little bit of talent and cell phones could disrupt an entire industry if they do it together. And we could get a message out farther, wider, and way more potent than Paul Mitchell could. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing, amazing, and such great memories. And I really believe that there was an, because I've been in this business a long time. The authenticity of this education was something I had never really experienced before. And I do believe that even to this day, I still have people who are like, I met you at, Butterfly Circus in New York or in San Francisco or wherever. And it's like those bonds are forever bonds. And I feel like that was such a big part of the magic. So thank you. Thank you for that phone call. Thank you
Yeah,
for
well,
that.
listen, Nina, like I just watched a documentary about the Brat Pack,
Mm.
and it brought back memories of Butterfly Circus because it's kind of what we were. And they had a kind of a reunion in the documentary, and it got me thinking a little bit. And I've been noodling around with the idea of making a documentary, like an hour-long documentary about Butterfly Circus,
Oh,
bringing back
yes.
everybody in a room where we get to talk about memories back and forth, where we have so much footage because you could just go to the hashtag and you'll
Yeah.
see videos and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's B-roll that could be playing. I think some people may feel like it was the best experience of their life, and there might be some others that still have some kind of angst about their
Mm.
involvement in it. And wouldn't it
Hmm.
be interesting? And what happened to everybody as part of it?
Yeah.
Some of people, it was a meteoric rise. Others stumbled. And if I'd love to get us
I,
all back.
I
What
love
do you
that
think about
idea.
that? Yeah.
I'm a documentary fanatic, and we are going to talk about your new documentary in a moment. So anytime I hear documentary, yes, I'm in. I'm in. I'm in. I'm
Fantastic.
in.
I think we should do it.
I do too. I do too. Okay, you know what? I'm speaking of documentaries. I am jumping into the documentary. Okay, so Danger Jones is your newest creation.
Yeah.
And I love how I was honored to be part of the initial launch event,
Yeah.
which was again another just amazing moment. And one of the things that was so clear to me in looking at the brand was how it is so rooted in community and creativity and connection, so much so that you're producing a music documentary. uh we have to talk about that. Not just because I think it's really super cool for our listeners, but like
Yeah.
I probably have watched more music documentaries than anyone on the entire planet. If there was an award, I'm pretty sure I'd win that award. What?
Well,
Tell us
I would be
everything.
nominated for that award also.
We'll share the award.
It doesn't matter who it's about. I'm interested in
Same.
music documentaries. I could watch something about a billionaire David Geffen.
Yep.
I could
Same.
watch I could watch something about the smallest act that never quite made it, like the
Yeah.
story of Anvil. Like there's anyhow, so Danger Jones is rooted in community and creativity. Those are kind of the hallmarks of what we do. And so we were approached by a friend of mine who's a documentary filmmaker, and he's always asking for, not asking, he's always presenting me with an idea to invest in one of his movies, and I've said no to every single one of them. And then he sat down and told me about this movie he's making, but he didn't give me the opportunity to invest in it. And so that piqued my interest. I'm like, well, wait a minute, aren't you going to ask me for money? but the documentary, well, the whole time I was listening, I was thinking, we have to get involved in this thing because it's the story of the Sunset Marquis Hotel in the heart of Hollywood. And it's the proprietors have made it a place that's a community for rock stars where they could be themselves, where they can be creative. Underneath the hotel, there's actually a recording studio that when they feel inspired, they just go downstairs and they bang out their music. And I went down to the recording studio when I got there. I sat at the piano and they're like, oh, yeah, Rihanna was just sitting there and she just recorded something. And then I went up into the restaurant and there's Morrissey. And I'm like, what? And it turns out that it's a place for them to connect, to feel comfortable. And so I thought a place where there's a community of artists that they're encouraged, it's an asylum where they could be sheltered from the outside world, where they can get the most out of themselves creatively. I thought there is a massive parallels between that and Danger Jones. So I said, we're in. So first thing we did is Alexis and I became the executive producers of the movie and put our money into it because we were excited about this. Next up is that we wanted to be actively involved in the creative process as well. So we're on set when we're doing interviews, we're talking about who we should interview, who's right for it, trying to steer the questions in the right way. So we go to the hotel from time to time, and when we arrive, there's a bona fide rock star waiting to talk to us. So I just got a text, and I wasn't even expecting this. And it's like, we got Keith Richards, or like, Keith Richards lived at the hotel next to the swimming pool. What's the greatest thing of all, though? It doesn't happen anymore. And it's kind of sad. Back in the day, the rock and roll debauchery stories are insane. And I'm a sucker for them. And so I like to hear what he did. I like to hear about Billy Bob Thornton, who lived there for 9 years. And I don't want to get graphic on here, but I'll just throw out one thing that just struck me funny. He takes us on a tour of the hotel and he points to a staircase and said, I had sex on that staircase, which we respond, said, you got to give up the name. Who was it? He goes, it wasn't a name, it was names. And just like hearing these stories, I just love hearing it. So we have Simon Le Bon, we have, Morrissey, we've got the singer from Def Leppard, we've got Hootie and the Blowfish, Sheryl Crow, Cyndi Lauper, some of my biggest heroes, Gloria Estefan. And rumor has it, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I believe in the next month I'm flying to Dublin to interview Bono. And so this is a cool project.
It is a cool project, and I cannot wait. And it's just such a great illustration of it, because I say it's not about the hair. It never was. Like, that's very much a
No.
rooted in brand fundamentals, right?
Oh.
And marketing fundamentals. But you just exemplify that with this brand. Like, it is so much not about the hair. And this move is just one great example of it. And I know we're all gonna love it. And I'm super jealous. I have no shame in saying I'm so jealous because I saw you had a beetle. You had a beetle.
Can you believe that? I sent a picture of my mom,
You had a
Ringo
beetle.
Starr, and we're not done. I want to get Paul also in this documentary. So
Oh my gosh. As someone who shares a birthday with John Lennon, I can just tell you that, like, yeah, obsessed. Okay, so creativity, content, documentaries, you're kind of almost shooting a documentary right now on your social media. And I want to talk about this 100 videos in 100 days challenge that you created for yourself. I find this fascinating for a few reasons. Of course, personal brand, really rules these days, as you know, as a business brand owner. And you've always had a personal brand. However, I haven't seen you go this deep in. And I love this because you do have so much wisdom, so much insight, so much context that is super valuable to our community. So what inspired you to start this challenge, and what have you learned so far? I mean, it can't be easy.
Well, I found myself realizing that I've owned businesses for so long. And when you do that, you're really concerned about what you say because you don't want it to tarnish your business. And people should, by the way. You should be always cognizant as you're building a business brand to make sure that your persona of yourself isn't interfering with opportunities there. But I've gone too far with it. And I feel like my public persona doesn't match who I am privately. And this just happens after year after year after year. And this came about where I really understood this when we took 100 stylists to Mexico last year. And I've found so many times where I would sit down with people and just one on one or in a group of people, and they looked at me like I'm a leader, not as a person. And they
Mm,
would even refer to me and my wife as mom and dad in a really affectionate way. But it, but I felt like I wanted to talk to them about things on a peer-to-peer level.
mm,
And so, and I started to think, why am I not doing that? Why am I so fearful? I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish. Maybe it's time to let my hair down and be myself. And so I started trying it out a little bit more in just personal conversations, and it gave me a lot of energy. I wasn't so guarded. At that Mexico retreat on the last day, we had a Q&A with Alexis and I, where we said, we've taken truth serum, and you could ask us anything you want, and we have to answer honestly. And so I'm on stage. There's 100 stylists out there in the audience, and they decided I was going to show up with no shoes on.
mm,
And it made me feel a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more casual. And I had a hoodie on. And I just, I felt like I want to bring that to my social media. I want people to know who I really am. So I realized that I'm scared. At 53 years old, I'm scared of what people think. And I don't think I should be. I think I should get over that. So I decided shock treatment. I am going to put myself out there. It used to be when I made a post about myself, even a selfie, I would be so uncomfortable that I'd go to dinner with Alexis and I couldn't be concentrating on what she was saying. I
mm.
had to check my phone to make sure no one was saying anything negative, and I just had an uneasy feeling. I've even posted things and walked straight to my bed and laid face down and moaned because I am uncomfortable with people knowing who I am.
Mm,
So, post one, I just said, here's an experiment I'm going to do. Post two, I tried something out and I think I failed. I thought it sucked. I made a post about presentations and I think I came across overly arrogant. I'm like, that's not what I am and that's not what
mm,
I want to be. So I learned. Post three, calm down, David, talk a little bit slower. So I'm learning video after video about not how to connect, but how to be myself. 3 episodes ago, I talked about getting a colonoscopy. If 30 days ago you told me I would create a video about getting a colonoscopy, I would say it's the most unlikely thing ever to happen. So is there growth? Clearly there is.
yeah.
And so anybody listening that's afraid to put themselves out there, it's stepping out of their comfort zone. But I've got news for you. That step becomes your new comfort zone in under a month. So you have a choice. Go the rest of your life caring what people think. Go the rest of your life wanting to put yourself out there, but don't. Or do it right now and go through a month of hell and then be out on the other side feeling like you can do it. So I'm 25 days in and I feel concerned because I haven't gone as far as I want. I haven't mastered it. And it takes more time than I thought it would ever take.
Mm.
And so the first two problems, I have 75 more videos to go to get better at it.
You
Okay. The time thing, I'm rethinking whether it should be every day or I should spread it out a little bit so that I could give my followers better content. So I could give myself more. Also to save my marriage because Alexis, it dies how long it takes for me to do these things. So it's been pretty cool experiment. Nina, you put yourself out there and
I
I don't like, does it come naturally for you?
okay, David, I'm so glad you asked me that because this is a big part of why I'm so inspired by this. What you're doing is you say I put myself out there. I would say that I have literal no desire to ever be on the internet, and that is a huge problem. And so, I represent Passion Squared, which is a business brand, but I have never, not in this whole 12-year journey, done one thing to build my personal brand. And that is connected to this is what you've inspired in watching what you've done with this 100 videos in 100 days. You've really made me look at why I'm so resistant to building a personal brand. And it does have to do with my past executive career. And there is likely a lot of fear there. And so when I show up on behalf of Passion Squared, I don't see that as me. And there's no question that it is not, it's not who I am, but it is in the context of the Passion Squared brand, not Nina Kovner, the human being. And so what's natural to me is talking on video because I've been doing it my entire career. I started as an educator when I, was in the salon working, as a hairdresser. So I've been on videotape and stuff like that my entire life. And as we've, evolved, the phone. So I'm very comfortable, but it's only because of literal, like doing it for, almost 40 years. Here's where I'm not comfortable. And I shared this with our community, I think last year, is I use a black and white filter. And that black and white filter is like a protection mechanism for me.
Mm,
It's like my blankie, it's my safety because I do have fear. I'm not entirely sure if it's fear of not being liked per se. I think that more of it is just fear of the vulnerability of literally being on the internet every day for 12 years. And through the pandemic, it leveled me.
mm.
It, I started to feel unsafe. So it's kind of like you, laying down like on the bed or what. I felt
Yeah.
unsafe is more the word. It's not uncomfortable as much as it was unsafe. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to be creating content for my company, I need some protection. And that was my filter, but that's not sustainable forever because,
Mm.
you know, whatever, things evolve, things change. I have not, and I definitely have not spent 1 ounce of time on my personal brand. So I've been thinking about that a lot since you started this.
Yours, in the fear of losing is greater than the excitement of winning when it comes to your personal brand. And and you're such a wonderful person. It's a shame for the world that you're not putting yourself out there more. And um, I would love to challenge you to do it more frequently. I would personally love to see it more and get it to a point where you're in Technicolor, not black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you've made me think a lot about that. And I have a big move coming up, and a new chapter, another new chapter in my life, and that could be the start of
So
going all in on my personal brand.
so the move,
Yeah,
that's tiptoeing in. And that's what I would advise to do. Why not create something about I'm moving, here's why this is happening, and here's how I feel about it. And don't make it about Passion Squared at all.
yeah, not
Make it
nothing.
about Nina.
Nina, Right, right. Okay, I love that I'm now in a coaching session with you. This is great.
It's so, by the way, this annoys other people that are
I
really
will
close
be
to
I
me.
will be texting you for my next session because I am actually loving this, David. Like I mean, I love it anyways. Okay, I appreciate the questions.
Yeah,
However, I've got a couple more for you before we finish this up.
let's do
And
it.
so I wanna go to self-care, personal care, healthy boundaries. You travel. I mean, watching you travel, you know how much I love to travel.
Yeah.
Watching you travel just exhausts me beyond. So, how do you take care of yourself? You are healthy, you're in shape,
Yeah.
you are glowing and vibrant, and all those things. Get tell us, tell us your
Well,
secrets.
first of all, traveling. Let's talk about that. I travel about a little over a third of my life. I'm staying somewhere else, and it's almost always in a different country. I get to do it with Alexis almost every single time. So traveling's different for me than the typical traveling salesperson. I've got somebody to talk to. I've got somebody to complain to. When I see something unusual happening in a different foreign country, I have somebody to talk to about it that could relate to it. Or if I'm having a great meal, we could talk about that. So I'm blessed to have that. And it's a life that we chose for ourselves. And we're blessed to be able to do it. And so I try to look at that even when it's really hard. And it is hard from time to time. But you might feel this way about Passion Squared. I could imagine it's what gets you up in the morning, but not in the religious way. It feels like what we're doing is a calling.
Mhm.
And it's to make an impact on people. And maybe when we do that, the people who are impacted the most are Alexis and myself. And that's why we do it over and over again. If we want a dopamine hit, it's hearing about or seeing something that impacts young artists in some way.
Mhm.
So, what a joy we get to go do that. Now, Alexis and I took a year off, and people will say, well, what a luxury that is. It's a luxury, but it's also a curse for anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to do that. You're left with a lot of thoughts, and your mind never stops. And you start wondering, what do I do next? And you feel rudderless. And so I started talking to a coach, and which is my fancy way of making me feel better about talking to a therapist. And
Mm,
my coach said, helped me along and try to get me to understand, what do I want? And once I find out what it is, what I'm going to get for my next chapter in life, then put it in my cell phone and visit it often. And I learned that what I really want and what I really loved about the first brand that I was successful for me, Pulp Riot, it was, I loved creating a community across the world. If I died while I was running Pulp Riot, there would be thousands of people at my funeral. If I died after my year off, there would be 100 people at my funeral. The impact that I made and the joy I got from creating a community was so much that I had to come back with Danger Jones and create it. And that requires traveling around the world to gather the community. The second thing that my coach helped me realize that I missed was, I love creating cool shit with interesting people. And my year off, I was writing a book. It was just me. The buzz I get from collaborating
mm,
and writing a hit song with somebody else and trying new things that fail, but we learn something from it. And I said cool shit with interesting people. I didn't
mhm.
say with people. I love finding people that are interesting to me, which may not be interesting to other people,
Sure.
and working with them. So traveling, it's a blessing. It's a pleasure. And while I'm on the road, I stay in shape. I watch what I eat. I always work out. In fact, that's how I get on the time zone. I have the luxury, and I can't overstate this, that maybe some of your listeners don't have. And I'm saying this only because wake up and I feel blessed for it. And that is when I travel, it's easier than the common person. And when I say common person, I mean just about anybody.
Sure.
From the moment I arrive at the airport to the moment I get into a nicer hotel, it's just I have it hacked in such a way that it makes it easier. So
And I will
on
just
the same page.
confirm that I flew private with the owner of my previous company
Yeah.
for a long time and traveled the world in a very simple way. And there is a
What it
huge difference.
allows
And thank you for sharing that context.
it allows me to make a bigger impact on people. It allows me to be in places and not have it be so tiring for me. And by the
Yeah.
way, just to clarify, I don't fly private. I fly planes just like everybody else. It's just that the airlines value me so much. They treat me really, really nice.
Right.
In fact, if I flew private, I'd miss being treated so nice. I'd
Yes.
be on my own.
I don't like private everywhere, but a lot. It's different. Again, yeah, it's totally different. I mean, that's how you go to 6 cities in a day,
Yeah, no,
when you're
totally. And I
private. Yeah.
get that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's my next step. That's
That's
it.
yeah. Oh, I can't wait. Danger
Gives me
Jones
something to work
Airlines.
toward.
Yeah. I'll work on that project for you. I love it. So where can we find Danger Jones online? Where can we find you online? What's happening? Like,
Yeah,
where do
so
we find what's up with you all?
yeah, what's awesome about following Danger Jones or myself or my wife is that we don't have it all figured out. And that's something that a CEO shouldn't say about their company. But there's something really cool about that
A
because when
hundred
you're
percent.
tuning in, it could go in a different direction like that. We're pivoting, we're
Love it.
changing, we're trying new things, we're ditching certain things. So I think we're a good follow. So Danger Jones Creative is where you follow our Vivid page, Vivid hair color page. Danger Jones Balayage is where you follow everything related to Danger Jones when it comes to blonding and toning and natural hair color. We've bifurcated the two.
Love it.
And then you follow me on David Thurston Official. And I'm going to throw my wife in there too because our brands, our lives, they're interconnected so much. And she's just simply Alexis Thurston. And she's my very favorite follow because she's not afraid to get silly. And I love that.
And I love that she's really been going all in on TikTok. Shout out to Alexis. Follow
She's
Alexis on TikTok for sure. It's so good to see. Okay, we're gonna close this out. Favorite quote? You're a quote. I'm a quote. We love. Do you have one you want to share with us?
I have two because
You
the
can share
first one
too.
might be a clunker, but I'm going to give you the first one first. It's from the Bible, and
Wow.
I'm not religious.
Okay.
The stone sunk into his head, and he fell forward face first. This is the story of David and Goliath, and that's my story. I'm David, and I'm out to prove there's a better way than how Goliath's doing things in our industry, and that's the big companies. It's been from the moment I entered the industry, I feel that mission and it's what drives me. So that's number one. Number two is from my main man, Abraham Lincoln. And that is whatever you are, be a good one. And so if you're a hairstylist, if you're a salon receptionist, whatever you are, be a good one.
I love that, David. Thank you so much for
You're very
joining us on the pod. And to everyone listening, be sure to follow Danger Jones, follow David, follow Alexis. There's just so much wisdom and inspiration and creativity that you can get from them. And thank you, as always, for listening, everyone. I hope that you have a peaceful day wherever you are. You are so loved, and remember to be where your feet are. Thank you
love
so
that.
much, everyone. And thank you, David.
Thank you, Nina.
Bye.